Recently, I sent a journaling exercise to nearly 100,000 people on my email list, asking them to share what they were struggling with the most in their lives right now. And I was blown away by all the responses. If you want to receive my powerful journaling exercises, click on the link in the description box below to join my email list. When sorting through the responses, I noticed that there was a common pattern emerging with a lot of people. They felt disconnected from spirit, but at the same time, they were too exhausted to want to connect. Here's what 3 different women said. I'm just tired, deeply tired. I feel hopeless. I'm so deep in negativity that my guides can't reach me, but I almost don't want their help. I'm just angry now. I know God provides, but I feel like not to me. These email responses took me back to my own spiritual awakening and the ups and downs that I have had since 2013, and it showed me just how disconnected so many people feel right now from spirit. One of the main things I see happening right now that's different from years before is not the disconnection per se, because we all feel disconnected from spirit at some point in our lives. It's a very normal part of the spiritual path that has been experienced and written about even by the great mystics of the world, like St. John of the Cross or St. Teresa of Avila or Hildegard of Bingen. What's different now is that the disconnection seems to be accompanied by a bone-deep exhaustion to the point where people don't even want to connect. They're just too tired to care or do anything about it. And that can lead to an overall sense of hopelessness. So I'm shooting this video as a source of inspiration to you if you too find yourself feeling the same things that my email list shared with me. And let's start with this. You don't need to do a damn thing to connect with spirit. You don't need to get on your knees and pray or meditate or wave around some incense or even have positive vibes. You do not have to jump through any hoops in order to get to God. You are always connected to God because source energy is the fabric that makes you. So how can you ever be truly disconnected from the energy that gives you life? Spirit is always there for you no matter what you're going through, how you feel, or what you think. I'm often reminded of one of my favorite Christian parables called The Footprints in the Sand. And it tells the story of a person who is walking side by side with God on a beach. As they walk together, the person looks back and sees 2 sets of footprints in the sand as far as their eyes can see. But then one day, something bad or painful happens in their life and they feel horrible. The person is suffering and in pain. Suddenly, they look back and they see that 1 set of footprints is gone. So the person automatically feels that they've been abandoned by God in their worst moment. So they ask God, "Why have you abandoned me at my worst?" And God says, "I didn't abandon you, I carried you." I love this story for many reasons. One is that it shows just how much we're loved and guided by spirit, even when we feel otherwise, to the point of this beautiful energy that gives us life, also carrying us in our worst possible moments. But it also teaches us about something that lies at the core of disconnection. Why did the person automatically think they had been abandoned when they saw 1 set of footprints disappear? It's because deep down, buried within them, and buried within so many of us, is the belief that they are not inherently worthy. So in that person's mind, there's a little voice that says, "Of course God abandoned me because I don't deserve more." Do you recognize this voice in you? But the deeper truth in this parable is that even when the person thought or believed they had been abandoned, God was still carrying them. This speaks to a profound myth that is very present in spirituality, and it's this, that if you don't trust or believe or have faith, you'll miss out on Source's love or on Spirit's guidance or even the manifestations of good things in your life. The late renowned spiritual teacher Wayne Dyer used to say that you'll see it when you believe it. He even published a best-selling book with the same title. It's the idea that the universe speaks to you more or manifests more when you are emanating a positive energy of belief. And that's a very different approach to the common saying, "I'll believe it when I see it." But although I do believe this is true to some extent, I've had so many experiences of the opposite too. I've had spirit show me its love and guidance and manifest things in my life at a time when my belief was at its lowest. Just like that person that was suffering and abandoned, yet God was still carrying them. In 2014, about a year into my spiritual awakening, I went through what's known as the spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And this extra spiritual process basically opened up my spiritual gifts to an extreme. And I started to have a gift called channeling. And I was doing a specific type of channeling similar to what the spiritual teacher Esther Hicks does when she channels the collective being known as Abraham. I started doing the same thing, and the first time that I channeled the spirit being, they flashed the image of a digital recorder. So when I finished that, I went and found a digital recorder, and I started recording my channeling sessions, and then I would listen to them back after I was finished. And when I listened to the recordings, I was both mesmerized by what was happening because my voice was different. It wasn't me that was talking, but at the same time, I was also really, really frightened of what was happening to me. I was a clinically trained professional. I had spent over a decade working as a pediatric physical therapist with over 16,000 patient hours under my belt. So I had a really strong clinical mind. So the idea that I was going through this spiritual process was really frightening to my clinical mind, to that rational mind that just kept saying I was going insane, I was possibly schizophrenic, and that I should go, admit myself to a psych ward. Then one day I started channeling a little girl. And this little girl came through to me, and these channelings were so beautiful and they were so life-changing to me. But at the same time that I was channeling this little girl, I also still had this voice constantly telling me that I was possibly schizophrenic and that I was just losing my marbles. So I had this resistance inside of me. I was really at my low in terms of belief. I was doubting everything that was happening to me. And so as I'm channeling this little girl, I remember asking her to please provide proof to me in the physical world that she was real. I needed proof. I was at my worst. I had lost faith. I wasn't believing in anything. I thought I was crazy. And so I asked Spirit to prove to me that this little girl was real and that this spirit guide was real and I wasn't making everything up in my head. So one day, I am sitting in a park with a friend of mine, and we're sitting on the grass, and I'm talking to this friend of mine. She's sitting to my left. And I was talking to her, and out of the corner of my eye, I see this little girl pass by me in a little bit in the distance, and she was walking with an older man, and I assumed it was her grandfather. And she was walking, and I looked at her, and I remember thinking right away, wow, that little girl looks like my little girl, the little girl that I was channeling, because I could see her. She presented herself to me in vision, so I knew what she looked like. And this little girl looked just like her. But I remember just thinking, wow, that looks like my little girl. But I kept talking to my friend. I kind of just lost track of the little girl. And a few moments later, my friend turns forward and she's looking at something, but she's like, I could see she's really paying attention to something. So I look ahead, and this little girl is walking towards me. And she walks towards me, and she stops right in front of me, and I could see she has her arms behind her back, and she just pulls this little tiny wildflower from behind her back, and she gave it to me. And I'm just like in complete shock in that moment. And I grabbed the little wildflower, and I just said, Obrigada, princesa. That means thank you, princess, in Portuguese. And I was sitting in a park in Lisbon when this happened. And she got so excited, and she just said, de nada, which means thank you in Portuguese. And she just went off her way. That's all. That was the only interaction. And I remember looking at her grandfather out in the distance, and he was looking at this whole situation thinking, what the hell is she doing? And it was really then, and I can still feel her here present, it was then that I realized how powerful children are, so powerful that my little girl, whispered in her ear to come give me this flower, and she did it because children are so connected to spirit. And so that was the manifestation that I needed, the proof that I needed. And I have never, ever doubted spirit after that. But the beautiful part about this story is that even when I did not fully believe, spirit still delivered. Spirit still carried me on its back. And my life story is filled with moments of doubt, exhaustion, and even anger at spirit sometimes. But regardless of what I felt or thought, spirit never left my side. And that's true for you too. You are worthy of being connected to spirit, and no matter what you feel, say, or do, nothing will ever truly cut you off from your creator. Spirit will continue to carry you when you feel at your lowest, or when you have the most doubts, or even when your ego tells the universe to F off. You will never be abandoned. You're always guided and loved so deeply, no matter what. And if you're struggling with difficult emotions or feelings of disconnection right now, check out this video that will help you understand why old souls often have really complex inner worlds and how to navigate them.